Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and wash our hands. And this is just to get rid of any oil or grease that we have on our hands. And after washing our hands, we're going to wipe the tiles down with rubbing alcohol. I like to use 91% isopropyl alcohol, although 70 or 71% can work as well. The purpose for doing this is just to get rid of any extra dust, oil, grease, grime, anything like that that might be on the tile that could possibly interfere with the paint or resin sticking to the tile surface. So now that the tiles have been rubbed down, they've been cleaned, we're going to go ahead and start the painting process. First, we're going to make sure that the tiles are rested on top of cups or something like this to elevate them off of the surface of the table or the paper or the floor that you're going to be doing the pouring over, because we don't want the tiles to dry and cure and kind of get glued down to that surface. So adding that extra space for the paint to drip down without connecting or gluing or drying to anything is going to save us some hassle later on down the line. I'm going to be doing different pouring techniques for the different tiles. This set of small 4x4 tiles is all going to be one technique. This is going to be a flip cup, and then the larger tiles I'll be doing something separate. And I've just alternated the paints into the cups. I'm going to let them sit for a little bit, and then when the time comes, I'll pull them off and move the paint around. The paint has already been diluted, by the way, with water, and I don't believe I used any silicone in these particular paints. Now that I've finished tilting the paint everywhere and I've kind of gotten a pattern that I like, I'm gonna go ahead and grab my heat gun and just do a quick pass over the wet paint with the heat gun. And this is to pop any bubbles that may be there that would dry a little funny, and to create sails if that were what I was looking for, particularly had I used silicone in this mix. So moving on to the next tile, I'm going to go ahead and do a different pattern. Instead of doing a flip cup, I'm going to alternate my paints into the container and then just pour it directly onto the tile. Now I decided, since I'm going to be using the exact same paints in the exact same color combination, there's really no need to waste this clear cup. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the ones that I just finished using and start alternating my paints into it. Alright, so now we're on to the final tile out of this batch, another large 6x6 single tile. Unfortunately, I forgot to pour the paints into the cup on camera. I'm actually off camera right now doing that. But same thing you saw me do before, just alternating the colors into the cup, same color palette, exact same paints. So instead of doing a straight pour or a flip cup, this time I'm going to do a ribbon pour where I just kind of zigzag everything across the tile, and then of course move it around and manipulate it to get full coverage. Now that all the pouring and the painting is completed, I've set everything aside for a few days to dry and cure. Had I used any silicone in that paint after the drying process, I would have wanted to wash the tiles with Dawn dish soap and cool water, and that's just to clean off the silicone so that the resin sticks and coats evenly. However, seeing as I didn't use any silicone, no need for that step. The epoxy process is pretty simple. It's a two-part 50-50 resin epoxy. You can see there's an equal amount of resin and resin hardener in these two cups. They'll be poured into a third cup together and stirred for about 12 minutes. I didn't include that part of the process simply because I don't think you guys want to watch 12 minutes of me stirring a cup. Yeah, there's quite a few different brands available for resin epoxy. I like to use the food grade heat resistant countertop epoxy. This brand is Premium FX. However, I've heard a lot of really good things about Stone Coat, so I'll probably be ordering from them next. They are slightly less expensive. So I'll have to kind of do a comparison before I can really say which I prefer over the other. Alright, here we are with our dried tile. The resin epoxy has been stirred for about 12 minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and start applying it. Please make sure you have on some type of protective gloves. This is not something that you want to get on your skin, especially if you are sensitive to chemicals. This stuff is definitely something you want to be careful with. So as you can see, I'm just smoothing it out. I've kind of poured it on there in a large puddle. I'm making sure I get full coverage over the entire thing, including the edges. And after spreading this on, I'm gonna, kind of check it out, make sure there aren't any divots or dimples, any small spots that the resin didn't stick, and just make sure everything is nice and smooth. So I'm seeing here that my layer was a little thin, and so I'm just adding some more. The resin is self-leveling, so as long as you don't wait too late into the work time, it's okay to just move it around. It'll even itself out. Also, just like we did with the paint, please be sure to have a cup or something like that underneath your tile so that it doesn't cure and dry to whatever surface is underneath it. Now, this is very important to use the heat gun or a torch during this process. It is not necessary when doing the paint. However, the stirring process for your resin epoxy will create a lot of bubbles. So unless you're specifically looking for that effect, you definitely want to run the heat gun over your resin. This will provide you with a nice crystal clear coating of resin once it's dried. In addition to using the heat gun, you can also spray a fine mist of that same 91% isopropyl alcohol that you used over earlier in the video. Not quite as effective as the heat gun or the torch, but if push comes to shove and you're limited on supplies, that is another option. Here I am with the next tile, and I'm just going to keep repeating the process. It's the exact same thing, nothing different for each piece. So I'll just shut up and let you watch me resin this up. Okay, here we are a day later. Everything has dried off. I don't know if you'll be able to see through the camera, but this has a pretty nice sheen going to it. What ends up happening though is as the resin dries, it's dripping off the edges, okay? And those drips eventually harden up like little miniature icicles, right? So after I finish showing you this one, I'll go ahead and flip it over so you can see the back and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. All right, there we go. So hopefully you can see that on the camera, but there's all these little drips, there we are, hanging off the edge. There's a few different ways that people can get rid of those. I just use a hand file, like a file, and just do it manually. You can also use a Dremel, which is what I used to use before I moved into my new apartment. I had a backyard with an electrical outlet, and so that was perfect. I don't have that option now, so I just use the handheld file. Some people like to tape off the back and then peel off the tape once the resin has dried, and I guess the drips come off along with it. However, I haven't had luck with that. I just end up with tape that is now sealed to the back of the canvas. But other people have had luck with it, so it may be worth trying. But there you go. This is what they look like once they're done and resined and dry. All right, here we go. The backs have all been filed down now. Everything's nice and smooth. In addition to filing down the backs, I've also painted the backs. This is not necessary, but I do think it gives the tiles a much cleaner and just professional finished look. It's pretty simple. Just squirt whatever color paint that I'm looking to apply and dab it with a sponge. Go ahead and flip these over. One of these, as a matter of fact, this one right here, has some little spots that didn't get full coverage, and so I'll end up applying some paint again during this recording, and you'll get to see how the application works. And I'm also going to be adding the felt backs. Again, very simple process. I use the little felt rounds. They come with an adhesive sticker to them already applied, but I find occasionally, not most times, but on occasion, those stickers, the adhesive isn't strong enough. So I also use a glue, add a dab of glue, add the felt back to it, turn it around, let it dry, and then there you go. The tile is completely done at that point. So here I am covering up those little spots that I mentioned earlier that didn't get properly covered with paint. Occasionally I'll use white, but I do think black finish looks the best, so that's what I'm using here, and I'm just dabbing the paint onto the back. This is how I did the backs for all of these. I'll be leaving that final tile undone for now so that the paint can dry, but other than that, you guys have now seen my tile making process. I hope you enjoyed that. If you found it informative or entertaining, make sure to hit the subscribe button and follow me on Instagram at j4x.art. You guys have a wonderful day and go create something.